Good day everyone and welcome to oral communication class. And of course, I'd also like to welcome you to what we call the temporary normal. For me, I call it the temporary normal. Some people say it's the new normal, but it's not because I don't want to accept it to be the new normal, but I think this is all temporary. At some point, we will all move past this challenge and soon we will be having our face-to-face classes again. But for now, welcome to the temporary normal of our classes, which are virtual classes, and for some, they call it synchronous classes. I decided to make this video because I thought it would be more efficient and time-saving to come up with this simple introductory video just for the preliminaries of our classes. I hope you think the same way as I do. Let's try to be more efficient in our classes and in the delivery of instructions as well. In this video, we're going to talk about a few simple things. First, me as your teacher. Second, guidelines and basic rules in our class. And third, oral communication class, and of course, what to expect. Are you ready? Let's start. Let's get to know each other as we go throughout the semester. I will be honest, I'm not very good in memorizing names, but I do my best every semester, and somehow I have not yet experienced assigning a wrong grade to a different person. Okay? So you don't have to worry about that. I am Ma'am Jamie. I have been teaching in STI since 2011, so you do the math. I handle general education subjects, particularly in social sciences as well as in language education, or actually more in English. I handle college and senior high school students. I've had the chance to handle an advisory class as well. And yes, I also am an advisor of student organizations. So if you're going to ask me, am I a strict teacher? Mabait ba ako? And all these other questions, I believe you will be able to answer those questions as we go throughout. I would like to think that I'm generally a kind and considerate teacher, just as long as you are able to follow simple guidelines and instructions here in our class. Can I expect that from you? Actually, it's okay kahit hindi nyo ako mahalin. Sanay na ako.
Sanay na ako.
My concern is actually you not loving me or loving my subject in particular. As a teacher, it's really my concern that you love learning. That's a very important thing, because when you learn to love learning, you will learn to love gaining information from not just my subject, but all the other subjects that you are going to encounter throughout the semester and throughout your life. And I think that is a very important tool in advancing or progressing in our lives. Wow! Hey! Speaking about love, do I love teaching? Yes, I do. I love teaching just as much as I love learning. So even if I do have a lot of things to do, I make it a point that I do my best in teaching you and making sure that you get the specific information that you need for our classes. So in case you have a question related to our class, please feel free to send me a message or raise your hand during our class. And of course, if there's something I love, there's also something I hate. What is something that I hate? My former students already know this. And the number one thing that I hate is I hate lates. In this virtual platform, you cannot give me the typical excuse of you're late because it's traffic. Walang traffic ngayon. Okay? Or definitely you cannot tell me you're late because you just woke up whatsoever, because we are all going to make the same effort here of waking up early or waking up in time for class. What is possible, and I do understand, you could probably be late because it's difficult to connect to the internet, mahina yung signal whatsoever. But there is a solution to that. If you think you might have trouble in connecting to our class, try to log in early. It's as simple as that. So probably 10 to 15 minutes before our class time, try logging in already to check if your signal today or your area is an area where the signal isn't so good at the moment. Okay, but if you're lucky and you have a connection at home, then you probably already have a space for you to have your online classes. I, of course, will give considerations first 5 to 10 minutes of our class. I'm going to check attendance and give time for students to filter in and come into our class. But other than that, I will proceed with class as expected. Now, in the event that you are unable to connect to our class, please send me a message and let's discuss how you can catch up. But I'm telling you, the best thing is for you to be able to join our synchronous sessions because we won't be having them that often. So please do your best. I know that at this point you are already doing your best to try to check out the best places to connect to class, to be able to have a clear connection and not be bothered by outside noise and, well, other factors that could probably not really help you in this online class setup that we have. Second, you might be asking me, should we keep our cameras on or off? Of course, the preference here is to have all our cameras on, just like in a class, right? And it's difficult really to gauge your reactions, your expressions if all your cameras are off. However, we have to admit that at this point, not all our connections are actually stable. So, in the beginning of the class, I would like to request that you turn on your cameras first as you enter the class. And at some point when we're done with the preliminaries and I've already checked attendance, you can turn off your cameras, or just to make sure that all of us can still hear each other. It's really difficult and heavy for bandwidth to have all the videos on, even if we do want to have that. But take note that I will ask you to turn on all your cameras once in a while in or during our class. I'll give you some time to turn on your cameras, and if you're not there, you can be sure that I am going to mark that in the attendance. Okay, I will be doing it several times within our classes, so please make sure that you are there in your class or workstation, you are listening to the class anyway. It's really just 30 to 45 minutes more or less. Of course, when you're reciting, as much as possible, let's try to turn on our videos. And if your videos are turned on, I do hope that you keep your background less distracting. I hope there are no people waving in the background or people passing behind you. As you can see, I try to situate myself as well in an area where I won't be bothered by many people passing behind me, just so you also won't be distracted. Okay? And of course, we have the second one, which is sound. Your mic. I know that you can see the mic symbol in your screens. And if you're not speaking in a session or you're not reciting and you don't need to speak, please mute your microphone. But if you're alone and there's no distracting noise around you, like me in my case, then feel free to keep your mics on just so I can also hear your reactions. If you're laughing, you're giggling, or you have a side comment or probably an answer to my question. But if there's so many people in the background, like your mom getting angry that you woke up late, or like your sister asking you to do the dishes, and the dogs barking, the roosters crowing, and so on, let's keep the microphones mute. We also have the chat box. So of course, the chat box is open for all educational discourse. Take note, the word is educational. Please don't chat randomly in our chat box of things that are not related to our class, because of course it's going to be distracting for your other classmates. I know that it could be enjoyable as well, but remember, if this were a face-to-face class, you're not supposed to be chatting with your seatmates, right? So in the same manner, we use the chat box if I asked you to probably type in your answer, give a reaction. We do have some emote icons or other reactions that you could use when we're chatting. That could be fun. And of course, take note of the raise your hand button. We need that, especially when I'm asking you a question and you would like to share your answer. Please don't be shy to share your answer. I hope that even if this is a virtual setting, you still try to be as interactive as possible, just like how we are in a face-to-face class. Now, on to the oral communication class or subject itself. Question number 1, you might be asking me, what is the coverage of this class? The syllabus and content of this class is uploaded in your ELMS, which we are, yes, required to use. All our submissions, outlines, assignments, meeting schedules are in your ELMS, and since you all have access to that, I am expecting that you will take advantage of that as well. From the subject title itself, oral communication, so that means yes, I will be expecting you to speak a lot in the class, well, as much as we can in this setup that we have. A lot of your submissions will be in spoken form, like video recordings or class reporting during this online classes that we have. I expect you to speak and write in the chat box or your homework in English to me, to your classmates as well, and in your written or spoken submissions or projects whatsoever. Why? Admit it, you don't randomly speak English at home, do you? Unless, yes, you grew up in an English-speaking environment, but not everyone has the advantage of doing so. So the best avenue for you to practice your English-speaking skills or writing, communicating in that sense is in this class and in our class submissions. So please comply. Please don't give me the typical excuse, oh, I am a Filipino, I'm proud to be Filipino, and so I want to focus on my language. Okay? I'm also Filipino, a proud Filipino at that. I've never been to the United States, and that's not how I learned my English skills. But take note that one of the marks of a Filipino is resiliency and the ability to adapt. Yes! And if you're a proud Filipino, you should also proudly represent Filipinos who are willing to be at par with the rest of the world. And one of the things you can do is to learn a global language. English is not the only language out there, but this particular class is in English, and the best way to learn that and be at par in terms of globalization is, of course, to learn the language and to learn to communicate with it. If you want to learn other languages later on, well and good, go ahead. There is a difference between patriotism and being proud of the Filipino language and a person who simply resists to learn a new language and uses being proud of the language as an excuse. Do you agree? Don't worry, because I appreciate more the students who would make an effort to communicate in English, broken English if you may, or the one that does not have perfect grammar. I'm fine with that than someone who is not willing to learn at all and just tries not to talk, not to communicate, and not to learn anything new because you're afraid to make a mistake. You can only learn more if you find out that what you're saying, the sentence you have constructed, needs to be corrected. So let's not be afraid to be corrected, because that's the way that we're going to learn in this class. Okay, so I understand if you're allergic to English, if you feel like your noses will bleed because of it, but I still challenge you to improve on that so that later on you will be comfortable in expressing yourselves in this target language. Alright, I think I've said a lot. And finally, I would like to say that I look forward to successfully finishing this semester with all of you, hopefully with not so much bumps along the road, but if there are, let's try to overcome them together. Welcome once again to Oral Communication class, and see you in all our classes. Have a good day. Bye.